So we're going to talk about WWE Backlash that took place May 10th in St. Louis. And to be honest with you guys, I was not very excited or invested in this PLE. It felt very rushed. Um, I think this is only, 3 or so weeks after WrestleMania. So that's kind of crazy to me. But they're also doing like two more PLEs if you count Saturday Night Main Event as a PLE, which it technically is. But those are all happening within like almost a month time span because I think the beginning of June we have Money in the Bank in LA and Los Angeles. So there's a lot of things happening. But a lot of the matches on the card, story wise, didn't have a lot of time to build up. They also felt just like, you know, championship rematches for the most part, which is usually what Backlash is, from my understanding, from seeing it last year and just hearing about it in the past. It's just like it's that first PLE post WrestleMania, and you get a kind of a chance to get some revenge or some rematches, or you put your title on the line. Some of the very first title defenses happen here at Backlash. So honestly, I was kind of like, meh. I watched Raw. I think Raw's been really good. I watched. I haven't, to be honestly, sat down and watched a whole episode of SmackDown the last 2 weeks. But what I have made sure to do is watch the highlights on the WWE YouTube channel. I've also made sure to keep up with it on social media. And so I was following along for the most part. I even put it on today because I recorded on YouTube TV. I record SmackDown and no longer Raw because it's on Netflix. But so I was able to kind of recap, and I knew what was going to be on this card tonight. With the main event for the Undisputed WWE Championship, with John Cena and Randy Orton for the last time, and then we have the United States Championship Fatal 4-Way, which was the match that started out Backlash tonight, with Jacob Fatu, Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre. And then we also had the Women's Intercontinental Championship with Lyra Valkyria versus the Man, Becky Lynch. And then we also had the Intercontinental Championship with Dominik, Mysterio versus Penta. And then we had Gunther and Pat McAfee. So it was like the only one that really had no championship gold on the line. So where do we start? We could start with the Fatal 4-Way. I love all of these guys in here, honestly. I like LA Knight. I love me some Drew McIntyre. I actually really enjoy Damian Priest for the most part. And Jacob Fatu is just he's a star in the making, dude. He's so good. It was really fun to see this start off the show because it's just you get all this star power, so much going on, so much chaos. And honestly, I one of the things about this year's Backlash that kind of took some of my excitement out is I was really just expecting nobody to lose their championships, which, spoiler alert, nobody does. But with that being said, you still want to see what comes out of it. Maybe there's some surprises. Maybe we build some feuds and, we kind of get a sense of the direction of some of these stars and where their stories are going to go, which when you're talking about this Fatal 4-Way, that's a lot of star power, man. That's a lot. There's a lot of wrestlers that people really enjoy. They're big fans of them. So they're really excited to see what they're going to do here moving forward. So I was actually honestly rooting for Drew McIntyre. And I think this match was really fun to watch. And even though Drew McIntyre did not win, they all had their moments. But, when Damian Priest and Drew went out into the crowd and all that stuff happened, when they went through the table, and supposedly Drew McIntyre actually got hurt. Like his head didn't hit the table, it actually hit the ground. So I don't know if it's a concussion or something. This is like literally after the PLE just happened. So we don't have any news, in depth just yet. So I'll be interested to see what they do and what happened. I hope he's okay. But once that happened, I kind of knew at that moment Jacob Fatu was going to retain the United States Championship. And then this, Jeff Cobb. I never heard of him, but I guess he came from, what is it? Over there in Japan. I think he came from over there. He was a free agent. That's what they said on the commentary by Michael Cole. And then boom, he came out there and helped. Solo came out, which I kind of feel bad for Solo. I think after that whole thing with Roman, they've just kind of thrown him to the side, man. I don't know why. I don't know. He's so good, but it was such a fun match though, and it really kind of got you hyped. And the crowd in St. Louis was really good. Look, there's no way that you can match the same energy that we got at Backlash in France last year, because that crowd was incredible. That was so much fun, especially that AJ Styles moment. If you've never seen that clip, look it up. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good match. I don't think that there's anything wrong necessarily with Jacob Fatu retaining, but like I said, there's so much star power. Like if any of them won, in some ways you can make sense of it, but think they don't want to kill the momentum that they're building up with Jacob, like keep it going. And now with this whole Jeff Cobb, coming in, aligning with Solo, and then Fatu's kind of reaction to that, so we'll kind of see. And I apologize ahead of time. This is my first time doing one of these in a while, so I'm probably just going to be a little scattered and kind of geek out, so bear with me. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the match. What did you think about the Fatal 4-Way? Were you happy with the result? Let me know. What was next? The Women's Intercontinental Championship with Lyra, Valkyria, the Bird Lady versus the man, Becky Lynch. She ended up retaining her championship. I was really surprised. I thought that was such a good match. Man, Lyra is so strong. She's so strong. Some of the things that she was doing tonight was so impressive. Not that she hasn't been impressive in the past. It was just really interesting to see some of the moves and submissions and like just the way they were interacting. That you could tell, like, honestly, they had some good chemistry. I was really surprised she retained. It almost felt like Becky doing the kind of heel turn, I guess, whatever they're doing with that. Her coming back at WrestleMania, and then they win the tag championship, and then they lose it, and then boom, here we are. Now they're fighting. It almost was like maybe my prediction was Becky would win, but then she would keep like being aggressive, like beating her up, and then Bayley would come out. I don't know what they're doing with Bayley. They kind of screwed Bayley, at WrestleMania, and I don't know how they're going to inject her into this. Hopefully that we see something from Bayley soon. We did not see her here. I guess maybe you don't want to take the focus off of Lyra, maybe that's it. I'm not sure, but I thought they had a good fight, man. I thought they had a really good fight. It was actually I really enjoyed it. I think Lyra being the first and only Intercontinental Champion, that I think that's another reason why I thought like maybe they'll switch it up, But I don't know what they'll do with her from now. She got that match was brutal, man. They were exhausted at the end, so they really laid it all out there in the ring. But moving into the Intercontinental Championship with Dominik, Mysterio, Dirty Dom versus Penta. I could have seen that go 50-50. I think they're really enjoying the crowd reaction and Dom, him being a champion, him doing more singles, which is I think is good. It's about time. I'm also curious how that's going to impact the Judgment Day in the long run. I was really actually anticipating Finn Balor betraying or something like that, but maybe they're holding off. And that's the thing with this Backlash. It was like I set my expectations so low, and I wasn't expecting too much earth-shattering stuff to happen, because at the end of the day, they've only had a couple weeks, and maybe they want to save these moments and really kind of juice up these stories a little bit longer. So we didn't see anything of that. The Judgment Day did come out there. We also see we also saw El Grande Americano come in and mess with this match, and so maybe we'll see more of the Penta and El Grande Americano. It's that's Chad Gable, man. Shout out to Chad Gable. But yeah, Dom, he retained, and I think that's the right decision. I hate how they've built up Penta and now Penta's losing, but that's just how it is right now. So I'm sure like they're gonna build into something else here. Penta is too good. His swagger and his entrances and just him as his talent as a wrestler. There's so much in store for us. Moving into that, Gunther and Pat McAfee. I'm a fan of Pat. I'm kind of burnt out sometimes with him on commentary. I love Wade on there. I think he does a better job of immersing me in that. I think all the other guys, Pat is like watching it with your friend. Now, he'll say some funny things from time to time, and you can tell he's passionate and he's a fan of the product. But at the same time, you kind of wish you had that commentary team that really just gets you immersed in what's really going on. Sometimes Pat can pull you out. And you can tell that Michael, has to carry a lot of that. But I think Pat does good. Obviously, I like him. I watch his show on YouTube, College Game Day, all that stuff. This felt random of him going up against Gunther. Not that I wasn't aware that Pat has had experience in the past wrestling. It just was kind of like, okay. But I was like, I'm with it, whatever. So when it all was building up, I was like, oh, Gunther is going to destroy this kid. I mean, he's not a kid. He's like a grown-ass man. He's going to destroy this guy. And that was actually a more entertaining match than I was expecting. I actually found that it was a lot more brutal in some ways. Not as brutal as, like, Jimmy Uso being bloody and, like, Gunther just choking him out. But Pat took a beating, which I think everyone expected. And I think it also came down to the fact that, you have these moments where Pat is really showing what he can do in this match. So, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like this see a little bit more of that. I would like to see, Pat get more involved from time to time, and we'll see what happens. But man, those chops, dude, the chops were pretty brutal. They were pretty rough, and I think Pat did a good job. I think it was fun. It was fun. The crowd was into it, and the crowd again in St. Louis, I think, was really good, man. Because what a bummer that is if the crowd is not into these fights, any of these, whether it's just a regular Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, or a PLE, especially the premium live events. But I enjoyed it. So like up to this point, I'm enjoying everything. And then we get to the main event, and I was actually not really looking forward to this. Maybe that's because I was meh after WrestleMania night 2. And I'm really honestly kind of burnt out on this whole John Cena stuff. I think it's just because we understand like it's his last year. And now that he's won the championship, I'm like, okay, well, he's just not going to lose. Like what would his motivations really be now if he wasn't champion? I think you have to have some kind of grand finale where he loses, right? I don't know. I don't really know what they're doing. I like John Cena. John Cena's wrestling and stuff, even though I was aware of as I'm growing up, I didn't get to see it. Like, this is my second real full year going as a WWE wrestling fan, right? So I missed a lot of that. But Randy Orton being from St. Louis and having that unfortunate moment where Kevin Owens couldn't participate in WrestleMania because of that neck injury, and then you had Joe Henry come out, which was still good, and it was kind of a squash, but still entertaining and fun. It almost felt like they were like, okay, don't worry, Randy, we got you. In St. Louis, you're on the posters, you're in the main event, we're going to set you up. And I think what they've done up to this point with him and John Cena has been fun. The whole one last time And there's so much history and chemistry, and you could feel that tonight because this was so much better than WrestleMania Night 2. I don't know why. I don't know if they just were like reflecting on that and responding in so many different ways, or this is just, like I said, the chemistry from these guys who have wrestled for 15, 20 years together to some capacity. But it was so much fun. It was a lot more entertaining than I expected. And for, like I said, the main event, I was just like, here's John Cena with his black and white entry, and he's like, I'm gonna ruin wrestling, and I'm losing my hair, and blah blah blah. And look, man, like Peacemaker trailer came out recently. Like John Cena's busy; he's got a lot of stuff going on. It's crazy that he's been able to do what he's doing with this. And when it's done, it's done. So maybe that's the attitude I need to approach this whole John Cena stuff. I just did not see Randy Orton winning, but that's what I mean when I said that this exceeded my expectations, because there were moments where I'm thinking, oh my God, what if they do? What if Randy does beat him? I mean, it wouldn't be a complete shocker. You don't know what you're going to do with John Cena, but Randy winning is fun and exciting. And what do you do with that? And there was moments, man, and it was like back and forth. There was a lot of chaos, especially towards the end when he's RKOing everybody. But John Cena won. R-Truth comes out there, messes up. That I actually just saw the clip when I was about to go live of John Cena throwing R-Truth through the press conference table. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, Randy Orton, dude, he's just a beast, dude. Holy shit. Like every time I see him, I'm just so impressed. And I think John Cena's gotten better. I don't know what was up with WrestleMania Night 2. I don't know if it was a chemistry thing. I don't know. But that didn't do any of those guys justice, right? But I was actually really impressed with everything I saw from those guys tonight. Like, really. I thought it was a really good show. Like, from top to bottom, this, like, was one of the better PLEs. Just because even though they had to throw it together in such a short amount of time, man, it was a lot of fun. And maybe that's because I had my expectations pretty low, but because they were low, everything exceeded them. But really, I think what they did in 3 weeks post WrestleMania, this was fun. It was impressive. So you guys let me know what your thoughts were on WWE Backlash from St. Louis. I think the next one is Saturday Night Main Event, which is only in a couple weeks. So we'll see. I know that there's going to be Logan Paul and Jey Uso. I'm not sure of any of the other matches that were announced just yet. But yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's my thoughts on Backlash. And if you have any thoughts of your own, let me know in the comments section. Come by on the Twitch channel and check it out. And, we'll talk wrestling anytime and stuff. I'm going to try to do these, especially after the PLEs. I might just go live on Twitch, get my thoughts out there, especially like as soon as the events are over, and then clip it, post it, do that. But I actually would like to get into more in-depth conversations for videos in the future. So yeah. So that's it. Thank you guys.